Yo, what's going on? Been a long time since I've made a video, and the reason I wanted to is because PQ season is going on right now, but it is over for me since I just won my last one. I had a really fun season. My first time getting LL points on a non-illusionist character and one that I really like in Fang. Um, so I just kind of wanted to, for my own sake, really recap what happened at my two PQs and the deck that I played for both of them. I just had a lot of fun, and I hope other people would play Fang. So I think, oh yeah, also, part of the reason I want to do this is because I like watching, both Sam and Levi do their paper deck list videos. It reminds me so much of the Yu-Gi-Oh days, so I wanted to do that and show off some of my bling selfishly. So I'll just kind of go through Fang at a high level. If you got any questions, let me know. But yeah, once again, this video is a little more selfish in nature. Um, Starting off with just like the bread and butter reactions that you would need to play. I consider these 9 almost like the exact same card. They're like the lowest value reactions that are draconic to allow you to swing again. Based on the other cards in your hand, it will matter if you want to use them as like the Chainlink 1 or Chainlink 2, or what part of the game you're in. So for example, if you had, I think it's called Hunt the Hunter in your hand, you're not going to want to use this as the second chain, because if you have an extra resource, right, you would send that, which also just marks them. So you'd be better off, let's say, using this or this to guarantee that you've hit a previous mark. But these cards are all great at what they do. I think they're your best options, pretty widely agreed upon. Blistering Blade, I will say, has won me more games than I expect. Just coming in at 5, a lot of people will play around, your Hunt's Ends going to 6, but not a lot of people consider this. And I know, for example, my first round of my PQ at min-max, my opponent was at 5, was like, you don't have the Hunt's End, no blocks. And then there at 5, I send Blistering Blade, and it was lethal. So just something interesting to think about. Then I kind of pair these 6 cards up in my head, where, these are your majestic 3-block reactions. Obviously, Hunt's End super powerful, but it's very finicky. Expect it to be in your opening hand. It's just the way she goes. But Long Whisker, the more I play with it, the more I love it. Obviously, the later on you play it, the better it is. But there are some games where even just, on Chainlink 1, you use Mark and you get on so early. It's just really, really, really powerful. There's like no time that I don't want to see this. Unless I guess it's like a super fatigue deck and I don't want to use them early. Then the only 1-cost cards in the deck are Endear and Hunt the Hunter. So I was alluding to this earlier. You might want to sequence your reactions in a certain way. But this card's just great. I remember Levi used to play it when the deck first came out, and I was kind of a hater. I played more yellows, but now that I'm on a bigger blue base, this card has just been awesome always. It's good with Tooth of the Dragon. It's good off to just keep your fealty stack. And then I love playing this card because even though I said the first 9 or first 3 are all functionally the same, Endear Devotion, just guaranteed fealty, is so powerful. And a lot of times, just like I said with Blistering Blade, people don't necessarily play around not being able to just stuff you with the react. So this putting your dagger to 5 is pretty crucial. Then the only 6 main decked attack actions are For the Dracai and Oath of Loyalty. I think this might be one of the best cards in the deck. It allows you to play slower, just like get a mark, play defensively, play this. They don't really want to, a lot of times, risk 2 fealty. So but at the same time, leaving them marked can be really good for you, considering you play cards like Savor. So this is just like such an all-star in my opinion. And then Oath is obviously great. It can keep your fealty stack. Late game, you can use it. If you get to like full block, just send this plus a dagger. Or this will allow you, most importantly, to have your first dagger be chain link 2. So all the effects of your, pumps are online. So these cards are all great. I don't recommend ever really cutting them. Sometimes I'll board this out into like warrior specifically, because I don't trust myself not to keep this and forget that they have Kabuto and then lose the game. Then the only other reds that are non-draconic that are mained for me are 3 Scar Tissue, a Blade Flurry, and the Savers. Savers just so good. I really have nothing else to say. Scar Tissue, right, progresses your game plan, while also when you pop a fealty, putting your dagger to 5. So it's super annoying, and a good way to spend your fealty. Blade Flurry is also a good way to spend your fealty, but I found when I was always playing 3 in the main deck, there were a lot of times where I'm like, I should just block with this. It's a little clunky. It's a great card. It just annoys me sometimes. And then there are some people who are like, oh yeah, it's a 1-card 7. That just doesn't happen all the time. So like, while that is something that does happen, I don't know. My love for this card is not as high as I feel most people that play Fangs. And then for the blues that I main, there's Nip at the Heels and Incision. Functionally the same card, right? You can spend your fealty on these late game to make your dagger come in for 3, but with Go Again, always block with Nip at the Heels first because the art's uglier. Like using these. I can't wait to have like any card that's not this. I just like don't like it aesthetically. I play Twist and Turn Blue. This could very easily be the new Ambush card. I just didn't have them in foil, and I'd never tested with them, and I love the Twist and Turn effect. I think it's really cool, but I'm also jaded because I've played against Riptides who do that melting point thing to me and leave me with 1 dagger, and not that that's a common play pattern, but it just stuck in my head, and Twist and Turn is such an MVP to like let you have pop-off turns. Also just, offering up on hits I think is invaluable. And then there's Glint, which is just amazing, especially on turn 0. You can get some really like juice people with this. And there was actually an interaction I had versus a Huntsman over the weekend where this card would have been a lot better, but because I played poorly, it didn't get to shine. But it's just there's just a lot of things that come up with this card that I really like. And then I still like playing 3 Relentless Pursuits, blue 3-block. Good at the start of the game. You can play it like in the middle of a chain to keep cards in your deck just for value. It's just like good enough in my opinion where I want to play it. So those are the cards that I main decked. And then in terms of my side for the weekends, there were these 9 defense reactions. So I had Smoke Out, Sink Below, and Fate. No Shelter in my list. Playing these cards just make me so happy in combination with each other. It just really, really, you can feel how much smoother your deck runs. And like Shelter is very powerful, but I really just value the Opt a lot, and I'm happy that I ran it. And then Smoke Out is so good for all your aggro matchups, right? You can like block out a bunch, actually progress your game plan. Like you could block 3 cards, one of them being this play for the Dracai. I had a game, I can go over it more, but I'm just going to talk about it now. I played against my friend in one of the PQs on Dio, and like my opening hand was, do some random crap, set this, then he went, I used Smoke Out. My turn is like, because he's marked, play Saver, pitch a blue. He doesn't block because he's playing Dio. What are you going to do? I Long Whisker to get to mark again. So it hits, draws, draw Firm Loyalty. I'm online. It was just like insane. There are a lot of times where this card just speeds you up so much that it is really crazy. Then I play these two ofs in Pledge Fealty and Sigil. And my sideboard, if you can tell, is, well, right, there's like a defensive package where it's these two plus these 9. And then there would be a more offensive package where it would be these two plus the rest of my board, which would be Fire and Brimstone, 2 for the Realm. I really like this, so I don't have no poppers. I feel like that was terrible English, excuse me. I want to have poppers in my list, but I hated Battlefront Bastion, and like I said, I love For the Dracai, so this is a similar effect. This card just lets you pop off and really get disrespectful. 2 more Blade Flurries, because it is a good card, I just don't always want it. And then Tooth of the Dragon, which like is potentially one of the strongest Draconic cards in your deck. Because it just adds this whole new level of guessing for your opponent. But being an instant is a downside. So in certain matchups, you just can't risk seeing that in your hand. But this is like, it's just so good. Everything about it, I have nothing else to say. Also, I should probably talk about Sigil. I like these for Wizard, Syndra, and also Assassin. They're like, if you know me, you know I have what I would call a rational level of hatred for Assassin, but most other people would probably call it irrational. I think the damage they present to you is bullshit. The way you're supposed to play around it is just like you're damned either way. Tons of design mistakes. Bring back that dude who said Codex was a huge mistake. Tarantula Toxin, that card's awful to play with. Yeah, it's just like, I think it's a miserable experience. And this card allows me to no block daggers more often, or, you know, not worry that I'm just like on the flick clock. So I really like it. And then helping it for Wizard is a huge deal. So those are all my cards that I actually play with. And then in terms of equipment, I play 4 helmets. Sadly, no Crown of Providence, but I needed room. Balance is just good, I think, into like all the Pirates and Brutes. Probably Dio too, even though I could see running this. Kabuto was pretty good into... We had a few Warriors. There's... I think it actually could be pretty good into Puffin. Could be good into Dio too. It's just like a surprisingly good card. For Syndra, it's been pretty nice. I play this package for Wizards. I think that match, like, Verdance can be pretty messed up in general. But the games that I have won, it's nice to, like, still have blocking armor. But then they can't just, what is the number, 9 at the end where they try to kill you? It's like just 2 more can be obnoxious for them. Or at the start of the game if they go like I've seen people present AB1 and they send the 6 cost and like Waning Moon you and you've AB2, where it's like at least if they do that to me, I can like pitch into Skullcap, do kind of the similar thing but fix my hand better. I've just liked this a lot. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I think it's like the best you got. Then, you know, just kind of your standard stuff. The daggers, which, don't judge me, I have the same facing ones. But yeah, that's the deck. This, by the way, I guess I should address, is mostly for Vincent, because I think that deck is not great, but it would have been good into our meta. And I play enough blues where I think it's worth it, or better than these helmets, or even this. So I would have played Milrune Hood there. But yeah. So that's my configuration. And then I'll talk about my 2 events real quickly. So I played 2 ProQuests. The first week, I wrote down the matchups just to make sure I had this right. Kind of a weird field. The first week, I played a Marlin, round 1. Both of us kind of had a clunky start. But I've actually practiced this matchup a lot with a couple friends, one being Levi, the other being Phil. My friend Phil decides that it's a good idea to try to fatigue me as Marlin. Honestly, those games have been the hardest, but I don't think it's right. But I'm just saying I've prepared for that kind of game plan. And then when I play versus Levi, It's we just kind of race and throw our hands at each other, and I've had like the most disgusting turns of my life when we play those. Like I think I killed him turn 2 or 3 with like a 30 some damage turn. Um, so that being said, I have practice. I kind of have a feeling of how it should go. To say that this matchup that I played at the PQ was like both of us being really slow, but the issue is for him, when I'm slow, I'm setting up like powerful defenses for when he finally has a good turn. It would just get stuffed, and then like, you know, he's kind of rune blading over there, just not really doing anything. So I got that one. Then I played against local Yasu on Markney, who has been kicking my ass. I swear that Markney is a terrible matchup for Fang. He's like, no, it's good for you. I high rolled the ever living shit out of him, and I still won by like 2. So I still stand by the camp that Markney is terrible for Fang. Let me know if you disagree. But yeah, that was an interesting game. Then I played against a huntsman, local named Evan. He only ever fatigues. This guy plays like a really interesting build, I'll say, where he runs the stealth card that recurs traps. He plays 3 frailty traps, like 2 inertia traps, I want to say. I want to guess at least another 9 to 12 defense reactions. So, that game also, his new defense reaction, I'm pretty sure took my glints, including discarding one. That's where I made a mistake, and I should talk about that line. But I think it took my Hunt's Ends, and I want to say my Hunt the Hunters, and I think he lived around 5-ish. So I could have probably played better, especially this line with Glint that I didn't think about, where, you know, when you use the defense reaction, the Arachne trigger happens first. So he looks. After that resolves, I should have glinted and drawn the new card so he would just be guessing. But instead of doing that, I was like, I don't think my second glint is on top of my third glint is on top of my deck. I'm just going to do nothing. Don't cast my glint. He flips my glint, takes one from my hand. Yeah, it was really, really bad on my part. So that was my loss. Then the next round I played against another huntsman who was more proactive, a guy named Lucas. We literally play every single time he comes to town. That game was funny because at the end, he could kind of see the writing on the wall, and he sent Regicide at me, and I was like, oh shit, I'm actually a royal hero. He's nice, he fans out my banish. Nothing in my hand is duplicate to what's in my banish, and I have a defense reaction, so I just like show him everything. We have a good laugh about it, but he's always a good sport. So I got that one. I'm 3-1. Play against a Verdance. This Verdance made, I would say, a handful of mistakes, but he played well overall. But I kind of just started teeing off on him, and I felt bad. Like, he was definitely overwhelmed by the damage of Fang. I think I killed him by like 20 or something. Yeah, happy to get through that one. So then it was cut to top 8. I play against my friend on Kasai. That game, just like, he wasn't expecting my deck to be as defensive as it was. And I stopped like 2 pretty critical vigors from his end. And also I stopped just like, I want to say like turn 1, like he sends an attack. And I look at my hand, I'm like, I really want to send this whole thing, but I don't want him to have a dude. I put my gloves out. Turns out his go again was the new card. Made a huge difference. I felt like a champion. So that game kind of slipped away from him. I got there. Played against my friend Jeremy on a fast and loose gravy game. And I ended up taking the win. I was thankful to play him that round. And then the final round was the fastest game of my life. It almost didn't even feel like a game. Yeah, I played against Arjun, and Arjun ended up taking the win on gravy. So that was that PQ, and I was like, you know, so close to getting Living Legend points, which is all I really like to do in this game. I think it's really fun. So I took the week, and I was like, you know what, I am going to play another PQ. So I went to Min-Max and played theirs, and I'll run through these kind of quickly. First round I played against a local on Syndra. That was the game where they didn't play around Blistering Blade. It was kind of an interesting game. He actually made a really cool line where I learned that you can like flick yourself, get the fealty, but it doesn't consume the mark to keep the chain alive. He like definitely blew me out on that. That was pretty cool. I'd never seen that. But I got there. Then I played the Dio game that I alluded to earlier, where I got online so early. My friend brought in more of like anticipating me to be more defensive, which I think is correct on his end. But I just got online so early that like things didn't line up for him. Then I played against another Syndra who was playing pretty well, but he was definitely nervous because there were like times where he wasn't marking damage. There was a time where he thought that Mask of the Pouncing Lynx allowed you to arsenal the card you got. So shout out to him for doing so well, which seems like, you know, he might have been newer to the game or newer to the hero, but he was doing work on Syndra. But I got there. The next round I played against my friend Sam on RKO, which I had never played against. And I tried boarding like a more aggressively slanted variant, and the only D-Rex I brought in were Smokeouts. And he like absolutely rolled me. I think he beat me by like 18. And in particular, there's a play where he CNC pummeled me, and I only have 3 D-Rex in my deck, and I have 2 Smokeouts in my hand. It was so bad. But yeah, I learned a lot from that game. But Sam was like cooking up some pretty cool jank on his RKO deck. Go check that out on the MinMax channel. But yeah, he spanked me. Then I played against another Markney, and honestly, I don't think I should have won, but my opponent made a few pretty critical mistakes in the late game, and then my deck bailed me out. Yeah, once again, I think that matchup is like super difficult. Both times that I beat it this weekend, I felt like very blessed, and things had to really break my way. So if anyone has suggestions on what I should be doing differently, let me know, because I'm definitely not a master. But yeah, so that was 4-1. Only loss was round 4 to the RKO. Going to top 8, I play against a Dory. I kind of just like I had Kabuto, they didn't have Kabuto. I had more defense reactions. My damage is just like better without having to scale as hard. I'm pretty sure I played a bunch of For the Dracais early, so it's just like inevitable. Got there. Then I played against another Syndra in the, quarterfinals. That was the Markney from my last PQ. We had another good game. I don't think anything notable happened from either of us, but I do think both of us probably could have played better, like our respective sides. But it was a fun game. Always like playing against him. And then the final was a rematch versus the RKO, which this time I think I borderline fat stacked and took my time a lot more in the matchup. And it's really beneficial because I almost view it like the RKO is the tempo deck, but I just have so much more value if I can prolong the game. And yeah, it just kind of gets to this point where, you know, life totals start swapping again. And then, you know, you're able to cross the finish line where like your cards are just stronger and harder to predict. But I will say some highlights from that game is Sam plays that reviled block card that steals fealty, which I honestly didn't even know existed. That thing was like, thankfully they came just a little too late. Like I swear every single one was like one turn too late. But that game, I kid you not, I open up a hand of 2, like I arsenal a Smokeout and have one in my hand to pass to him. He CNC pummels me. I'm like, is this just gonna be the matchup? It was so funny. But his deck is really cool. I just think if you can be better about managing the life totals, it can really struggle. We were talking about it a little bit too. I think he could have played a few things differently, or like gambled with his scab skins to push his advantage, but saying like roll your scab skins doesn't always feel like the most skill testing way to win a matchup. But yeah, that was my weekend. I won that one. Super thankful that I got to play so many good games. I didn't have to get roasted by a Kano. I honestly wanted to play against more Gravies, but I didn't. There weren't that many. The meta at min-max was really strange. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Once again, I had a lot of fun, of course, this weekend. And my PQ season's over, so I just wanted to recap it, post something for the good old YouTube. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. See ya.